Hi and welcome. This is Steve Jones. I'm with the Game Institute, and I'm going to be showing you a tutorial on how to download, install, and Express 2013 and create and run the first program that's found in the course C++ Programming for Games Module 1. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. So I'm assuming you don't have Visual Express installed, so let's go ahead and get it. I'm using Firefox here. I'm going to in Google. I'm going to go to the website where the Visual Studio Express versions are held. So I'm going to type in Visual Express, and here we are. Here's Microsoft's main website for the Express editions. These are the free editions. Now you can use other compilers like Dev C++ or Dev++, and code blocks, but since the Express versions are free, we're going to go ahead and use Visual Express 2013. So on this web page, you'll see, I think there's like 4 versions. One for the web version, a compiler for building Windows apps. Don't be fooled, that's not the one we want. This is the one we want. Express 2013 for Windows Desktop. There's also Team Foundation Server. That's not what we're interested in. So this is the one we want. Go ahead and download. And it will take you to the download page. Now, depending on your situation, you may only see one selection here, the Express 2013 for Windows Desktop. I happen to have a subscription, so I have the full professional version as well. But what we want is the Express version. So go ahead and click on this humongous button. And we're going to go ahead and download, save the file. We're going to download the web installer here. So I'm going to go ahead and click Save. It's Firefox, so click up here and that little download arrow and start the installer. So go ahead and click Run, and here we go. All right, so it takes you to the install dialog. No, I do not want to join the Experience Improvement Program, and yes, I agree to the license. Okay, so notice how big this thing is. It's 3 gigabytes. So depending on your download speed, this may take a while. So I'm going to go ahead. So what's going to happen when I click install is it's going to download and install Visual Express 2013. During this time, it takes a while. So during this time, go ahead and I'm going to pause the video so we're not gazing at the progress bar. Once it's done, the installation, then we'll come back. All right. Here we go. I'm pausing now. Okay, so Visual Studio Express has been successfully downloaded and installed. So let's continue. Let's go ahead and launch it. Go ahead and close the window, the browser. We don't need it anymore. Okay, so let's go ahead and launch the program. Gives us a nice convenient launch button from the installer itself. Okay, so it's taking a little bit of time to run for the first time. After that, it usually starts up fairly quickly. All right, here we are. The application has opened, and we now will start writing our code. But first, we need to create a project and a solution. So if you have looked in the textbook, you'll notice the first project that we're going to do is called PrintString, and it's really short. And what I'd like to do for the remainder of this tutorial is simply demonstrate entering the code, building and running the project. I'm really not going to explain the code because that will be done further on in the course. So what we're going to do here is just finish out the tutorial by creating the project and entering the code, building and running. Okay, so here we go. We want to create a project. So there's a couple ways you can do that. Click on File, New Project. But what I like to do on the start page is just use the link New Project. So let's go ahead and click that. Brings up a new dialog. On the left is the different kinds of projects that you can create. We want a Visual C++ project for all of the projects in this course. And as well, we will always be selecting Win32 console applications. Those are ones that don't have a GUI, don't have a user interface like your typical Windows apps. These are the ones that run in that command window. So for C++ Programming Mod 1, you'll always be selecting the Win32 console app. I believe the textbook asks you to select this one. You can do that, but here is the one we want. Okay, so down at the bottom, we want to enter a name. I'm going to go ahead and call this print string. I'm not going to change the location where the project and the project files are located for this tutorial, but I highly recommend that you go ahead and change that using the Browse button here. We're going to leave everything else the same, and we're going to click OK. I want to change a few more things in the settings, so click on Application Settings. Okay, so the application type is a console app. Had you chosen, whoops, I thought I could go back. Had you chosen the Win32 project, the Windows application would have been selected here. But for this course, we don't want that. We want the console app. Okay, so there's a couple things we want to uncheck. We don't want the security development lifestyle. That's a little more advanced. That's something that is included in the newer versions of Visual Studio and Visual Studio Express. So we really don't need that. Precompiled headers are a little more advanced, and they are not used in this course or talked about. So we're going to uncheck that. But we do want an empty project. So let's go ahead and select that and click Finish. Okay, here we are. So we have created a solution called PrintString that has one project, also called PrintString, and there are no files. We have some folders, but no files. So let's go ahead and add a file. Again, you could select Menu. It's typically a menu, multiple menus to do various things. You could select File, New File, but we're not going to do that. What I like to do is right-click on the project, because we're going to add a file to the project, and select Add, New Item. So this is the item is going to be a file. And the file type that we want is a C++ file. That's the template of the file type. And we want a .cpp file. So let's highlight that one. I'm going to change the name to main. I could type .cpp. I could type the extension, but I'm not going to. I don't need to, because Visual Studio already knows this is a C++ file type with the extension .cpp. The location is good. Let's go ahead and leave it at that. I'm just going to click Add. All right, so we've just added a file called main.cpp. Notice the extension was added for us, and it was added to the project. And this file is a source file, so it was added to a default folder that Visual Studio creates called source files. There's also header files and resource files. We are not using those for this simple little example. Okay, so here's our file. Here is main as described by the tab. If we had another file, multiple files would create other tabs here where you can easily switch between files. Very nice and handy. So main has nothing in it. So at this point, I'm just going to start typing away, and you may or may not know what I'm doing. That's really not important. So just take it on faith that everything that I'm typing here will in fact be explained later on. So I'm also going to add something so if you're looking at the code that's in the textbook, I already just added something that wasn't there. And that is the return statement I just added. I'll explain that in a second. Whoa. Okay, so this is going to get a little boring because I'm typing and not talking. So please pardon me while I do this. So again, all of the things that I'm typing here will be explained right after in the textbook, right after you see the sample program. Okay, so here we are. Here's uh, here's the code from the first application called PrintString. So now at this point, we've written code in our module in our source file called main. Now we want to build the application and then run it. So let's go ahead and do that. So up here, click the build menu. There's, again, multiple ways to do things. After a while, you might want to get used to using hotkeys. You could press F7, which will build, or you can go to the menu, choose build solution. So we're going to build the solution. And in this solution, there's one project and one file. So what's happening in the build process are two main things. They are called compilation and linking. In the compilation portion of building a project, building an application, that takes all of these source files ending in CPP and turning those into object files, files that the machine would understand. We like to type in a language that humans understand. And that's C++ is human language. But the computer deals with machine language, so it needs to be changed or converted into a type of file that the machine knows how to deal with. So that's what compilation does. Is it we have one file here, but if we had multiple source files, this is the time where it would convert all those source files into object files. So then the second stage is linking. That takes all the object files, combines them together along with any libraries that you've included. And in this case, I have hinted to the compiler to include some libraries that that I want to use. IO library and a string, well, a library that contains IO and string type things, and it adds those during the linking process to my application. At the end of the linking process, there is an executable. In this particular type of application, you can create libraries like DLLs or static libraries that will end in a .lib for Windows. We're building an application that typically ends in an exe, a .exe. So the name of this application will be called PrintString. By default, in the project settings, the application will have the same name as the project, ending with a .exe. All right, so we just built. Now, what is the status of our build? How do we know if it worked? Well, down here at the bottom in the output window, it says nothing failed. So if we had any kind of compilation or linking errors, they would have showed up and it would have told us. And it says one succeeded, one being the number of projects. If we had 4 projects in this solution, then we would have seen 4 succeeded. Or if they didn't succeed, it may have told us the number of the ones that succeeded and then the ones that didn't succeed. So one line above this shows us the location and the name of the application that we just created. So the application name, as I mentioned, what is the project name with the extension .exe. Okay, so enough of that. Let's go ahead and run our app. There's multiple ways you can do that. You can use keyboard keys. You can click on this green button up here, this play button, and run it. Or you can select debug and choose some options here. Let's go ahead and choose start without debugging. We don't need to debug our application. There is a built-in, very powerful built-in debugger to Visual Studio and Visual Studio Express. Okay, so let's running our program now. So it's doing exactly what we typed in. So I'm going to go ahead and just type in my name, hit enter, and outputs a string hello, comma, space Steve. And then it's prompting us to hit a key. When I hit any key, it will close the application. Now, the application is not running anymore in the operating system. Okay, well, like I said, each of these lines of code for this particular application will be explained in detail, line by line. later in the course. At this point, what we've done is we've downloaded, installed Visual Studio Express 2013. We have created our first simple C++ program, and we've built and run it. So hopefully this was helpful for you. Hopefully you learned something, and again, hopefully you will continue on in the course. Thanks.